Kia ora from New Zealand, guys. So I am making this video all the way from New Zealand. I'm just going to read out. I've been exposing a few things of late in the last couple of years about an illegal slave trade that has been operating without our knowledge from the country of New Zealand. I'm native to New Zealand, so I just wanted to share a claim that I'm putting in. This is my statement of things that I have to reveal to a lot of countries and indigenous peoples around the world. This is what we call a Waitangi tribunal hearing that we can put in for grievances that people who are native to New Zealand can put forward. So this is a Crown claim that I'm making, not only on my behalf of myself, but on behalf of a charitable trust that we have that has been set up because a lot of our Indigenous people are homeless. And so I just want to share this because it's quite an important issue that's arising, not just for us here in New Zealand, but around the world with Indigenous peoples. So it's quite serious, actually. So I'll just go on to read to you about this. I'm going to upload it on YouTube, so I hope it will go on, because if it doesn't, well then I know that they're just, preventing it from going on, because that's how corrupt they are, the people that are able to control this. So they're part of the terrorism if they're not going to let us expose this to the world. So after this, I'll upload onto YouTube. Okay, so I'll start my corridor now. This is for a Waitangi claim in New Zealand. It's the homelessness inquiry, stage 1. So, kia ora koutou, my name is Emily Kataraina Holden, formerly known as Emma Catherine Collins. I am a survivor of abuse in a faith-based institute and a former member of the Royal Commission of Inquiry into Abuse in State Care and Faith-Based Institutes. It is my long-awaited opportunity to stand here before the Waitangi Tribunal and finally state my grievances, to which I have sought to seek help from other organisations, including the Royal Commission of Inquiry, but been denied any acknowledgement. It is for these reasons that I have started to expose many of my past and present ongoing issues I have suffered on Facebook Live. I do believe that this has contributed to the global pandemic of COVID-19. Before I begin, I will proceed to give some background history to enable the tribunal to understand my answers to the key questions of response to stage 1 of the Y2750 homelessness inquiry. In World War II, 1937 to 1945, a biological chemical warfare research and development plant known as Unit 731 was set up in Manchuria, China, led by General Shirohei of the Imperial Japanese Army. They carried out unethical lethal experiments on thousands of Chinese subjects of live vivisections, lobotomies, and other atrocities. After the bombing of Pearl Harbor, the Americans struck Hiroshima with a nuclear explosion, which saw the surrender of Japan, Imperial Japan. These Japanese scientists received immunity from the American government in exchange for information for all data recorded during the operation of Unit 731, which America saw was highly valuable information and that only the American government would now have. 26 years later, this very technology had been used by the Defense Advanced Research Projects and Development Agency of the United States Department of Defense, which is responsible for the development of the emerging technologies for use by the military to develop a new means of communication of neural interface brain implants. In 1971, US soldiers agreed to voluntarily have this technology implanted into their brains to trial out how this would work. This would enable telepathic communication by mind thought and be more efficient as opposed to carrying heavy communication equipment in warfare. These communication devices implanted in people was being monitored from a spy base where computers translate the signals of thought to the computers. The ability of these implants was that they could control any electrical device with microchip technology, therefore disabling any device or blocking social media and other telecommunications. Together in conjunction with this technology, the technology developed in World War II by Nazi Germany and Auschwitz through the euthanasia T4 program, a German battalion officer of the SS who had doctorates in anthropology had been assigned to carry out genetic research on human subjects. His experiments focused primarily on sets of twins. It is this very technology that had been used to corrupt religious leaders in partnership with white supremacy, Freemasons, and funded by organised crime at its highest level, breaching security laws of the US government and using this very technology to establish an illegal slave trade, which has been in operation since, growing and eventually corrupting not only our government and tribal affairs, but governments and indigenous affairs worldwide. Through the slave trade, our people have been illegally abducted, imprisoned, tortured, brainwashed, enslaved, and murdered. With the technology of cloning, our people have been created by science from our loved ones who had been murdered within these prison camps by these corrupt religious leaders, Freemasons, white supremacists, and organised crime who run them. This is the fraud and forgery that has gone undetected by both government and tribal authorities. This is the very reason so many of our whānau, our families, hapu and iwi, have lost their homesteads and their lands, businesses, etc. It is a nationwide issue of stolen lands, homes, and companies that are whānau, hapu and iwi owned. Our corruptors have corrupted our Māori people against their own, controlling them who have been traumatised by the inhumane memories of these faith-based institutes they have been imprisoned in. This is the very reason our people are being homeless, uneducated, who have suffered from deprivation of adequate health care, who have been under-assisted by welfare because it is our own Māori people within government agencies or tribal affairs and organisations and government-funded organisations, as well as tribal affairs, who have been corrupted by these Freemasons of white supremacy who have been taking from us all along. Looks like this has been altered. I won't go on to read the rest of it because it's pretty long, but I just wanted to share that with the world, seeing as I've been uploading videos onto YouTube now. Yeah, this is like a major thing globally. I've been just finding so much in my culture. It's tradition for our women that we can, spiritually guided to things that we're able to find, those of us who are gifted enough. In my culture we call it matakete, or I don't know, seer, and it's our men that usually, sort the business. This is a Tainui tradition where I come from. Our women find the grievances and our men sort it out, do the business. But yeah, I've been finding so much here in my own community with things that needed to be exposed. If we were going to ever get on top of this and deal with these issues that nobody was really aware of, then it had to be exposed publicly. Where I come from, there have been so many families who have lost their lands and their homesteads that have been sold off, and I do believe it's because of what I was finding, that our people have been cloned. So in the first place, what brought all this about, and I've only just been finding the whole cloning thing in the last couple of years actually, was that in 2016 I approached the New Zealand police for a detective to investigate what I had been finding over recent years, believing that my parents had been murdered over their lands. I believed that I have been finding that I had a twin sister who I knew had been hidden, and it took me a few years to find this actually. And yeah, but I was just finding too many sets of twins, and I kind of figured it out from what I have researched into, like this scientific evidence and stuff, what's actually been happening. So, the Germans have been very clever at getting away with what they've gotten away with. I've been finding that our people have been swapped over, abducted and swapped over when they were able to be swapped over by their abductors, people who have been corrupting us, and murdered and replaced with their twins. And this is how they've been, getting hold of our lands and then selling them off. Yeah, and it's not just Māoris, native people either. It's like they're doing it to Pākehā people, Europeans, all nationalities actually, and it's just those people who had that whole vision of a perfect society and them trying to organise, making man in their image, I guess, and yeah, just trying to organise anybody out that didn't cut the mustard for them. So this is what's been happening, and I started to get the word out within my own country, New Zealand, and our people know now. They realise that from some of the scientific explanations I've given them, that it makes sense. Now, I don't know how things are in America, but I can only guess in America and Australia that maybe, if we've been the same here and all throughout the Pacific Islands as well, maybe, that what was happening here from when I was a child right up until now, or 5 years ago anyway, we just had like so many Māori dying of cancers. They were just dropping like flies from cancers and stuff, or heart attacks. And from what I've been reading up on, I think that's all due to the microchip implants that were put into them in these prison camps where they had been enslaved. So, we've had a lot of Māori who have died from brain cancers, like they might have had throat cancers, all those sort of things. So I've been going through a lot, trying to prove my case. I've had to expose a lot of things that I've been finding amongst my own people, and as a result, I do believe this is due to COVID-19, what brought that about, or that contributed to that. And I think that they say it was designed to take out old people, and I just figured that maybe it's because, we had a lot of elderly amongst us, our elders, our old people who could give their testimonies and stuff going back to, the early 1930s. World War One, pretty much just about, who could testify on what they knew about what was going on, who had some information. So maybe that's why they created the virus, was to knock some of them off so that they can't talk. Yeah, that's what I brought it down to anyway. So these are big major issues that are going on. You know, a few, not only that, but it's just, yeah, they were implanting us with a lot of this technology, eh? Yeah, everything that I've been reading up on makes sense. It's, some of the stuff that I've researched into has now disappeared off the internet. Can't find it. Like that information about the soldiers being implanted with neural interface communication technology that we have in us has now disappeared. That was in the early, like, what was it, maybe 3 or 4 years ago that I had read up on that stuff, and yeah, I didn't print it off or anything, unfortunately. So this is what we're going through in New Zealand. Yeah, I've been finding a lot of corruption, and it's growing and growing. So there was a need to speak out about the issues that are growing on us. Our loved ones who have been taken from us, we can't do anything about that now, the fact that they are gone and they're gone for good. But what we can do is that we can get the word out to those who have been amongst us. At the moment I'm trying to look into getting some sort of court order that will protect our people from, you know, making their confessions, how they might have been a part of the twin conspiracy that's been going on, and to tell us their stories about coming out of these camps. So I'm a survivor of a Christian camp, a faith-based institute. From memory of flashbacks that I've had, they actually had like military weapons. They even wore military uniforms. The teenagers that were there, when I remember flashbacks of I was a baby then, having flashbacks of these teenagers in these military uniforms and stuff, and there was some pretty bad stuff going on. It wasn't just sexual abuse and stuff like that. There was more to it. I think they probably had hidden places that some of the teenagers may not have known about, where some really, really bad stuff was going down, where people, you know, were being killed, like a concentration camp, I guess. So I've had warning a few years back when I first started talking about these camps, that and I was being stalked as well by a lot of people. I was getting death threats and stuff like that, but I didn't care. You know, I knew that I had to keep speaking out because I was just finding more and more to do with my people, and then the bad shit that had happened to them. So I just continue to speak out and reveal this place. So I have been warned that with these camps, anybody who dared try to expose the truth about what goes on, what's been going on, is usually killed. So I'm still alive now. I just figured that maybe they're going to save me till last, and try and kill me in front of a few thousand people, you know, like a human sacrifice or something, but I don't care. I see World War III coming through what's been exposed here. You know, if we didn't do anything about it, you know. So this whole exposure thing is a protection for Indigenous cultures, for us to come and try and get back what's been taken away from our people. Because our people have been murdered right under our noses, and we didn't even realise it was happening. And Pākehās too, it's been happening. I've been finding a few, you know, European Pākehās in my language, that's what it means, who have also been victims of this. So it's not just about Māoris, and other cultures as well, Asians, Indians, all sorts. So it's, this is how the world has become corrupted, and it's something we need to do something about it before things just get too bad. just like to talk about last night. As I was laying there, I could hear this noise underground. It's a sound that I've noticed that happens before major earthquakes. It's like a grinding noise that goes on under the earth, and then next minute, boom, there's a huge earthquake. The last time I heard it was with the Kaikoura coastline coming down in New Zealand, South Island. So, but last night it just, I heard the grinding. It was like, I believe that it's like a giant fan of blades that is like, I guess, a wine press where they shove people into their death. Personally, that's what I believe it is. Through my microchip implants, which is highly advanced for the age of it. I'm 46 now, but it was designed to work in with today's technology and emerging technologies from then when they implanted this stuff into us up until the present date. It's still highly advanced, and yet it's old as. I've witnessed things that have gone on within the camps. Underground, I believe they do have an underground operation. So I've witnessed through the implants, through seeing through the eyes of other people who are implanted. I'm able to see what they're seeing as well. So I have witnessed these places underground, and this particular machine that they have is giant fan of food processor for human beings, I believe. Goes round and round. I've seen the control room. If you remember the movie 2012, how towards the end, when the wave came after the asteroid hit the water, coming up to Mount Everest, where everybody jumped in the spaceships or these giant boats that they'd built because they had worked out through science that the wave was going to hit. And so in the control room they had like a big screen, a clear glass window with all these controls. That was what I saw, but it was underground, and it was the control room was to like a gateway that would open, and where the people would go through the gate into this giant blades, propellers, whatever it is, earthquake machine I call it. So I've witnessed other things too that I've seen from people who have been present when there's a killing taking place. I have witnessed, some terrible, terrible sick things that go on down there. To our people who had been killed, who had been smashed over down there by those who are just so heartless. It's very hard to undo. It will be very hard to undo some people. They're just raising up murderers and terrorists down there. I've spoken to a lot of people who know about these places, but they're just too scared to talk. They don't want to talk. And I know why, because of the inhumane, torturous acts that go on in these places. They've had the fear of God put into them. So my thing is to, through the Crown, and it hasn't been easy because we've become so corrupted. Even Amnesty International wouldn't help me. They didn't want to know about any of this, which pretty much sucks, because they're meant to be there for this sort of thing. So my thing is to try and get our people to speak out, and that's the only way we're going to be able to prove what's going on and put a stop to the corruption that's growing within our countries. So I'm working on getting to a lawyer to find out what we can legally do to prevent our people from going to jail. So it's been said to me by my Waitangi lawyer that if we do this procedure, which is like a a customary traditional way of having a Waitangi claim was that we call it marae justice hui. Native Americans and Aboriginals probably have their own same ways, as where you have your own tribal justice system. So that's basically what I'm looking at, only not in the way that it's going to protect our people from being done for anything, but that the Crown can be present and hear their grievances and their testimonies on the marae, because the protocol is what's said and done on the marae stays on the marae. It doesn't go out the gate. So and this is how we do law as well, LORE, which is, if it's real serious and we want to really get into the old way of doing things, if you can have your leg cut off or your tongue cut out or your ears cut off, that's tribal authority. So this is a type of thing I'm looking at, but not non-violent, just so that our people can share a few things. So yeah, this is one way of getting people to share their testimonies of what, the evidence that they can give. Or if they don't want to be known or seen, they can write about it. But everything is totally in confidence. It's amongst us of the tribes, whoever's there on the marae. It doesn't go any further than that. For our people to start speaking out, because it's the only way that we're going to get this sorted before it gets too bad, And it's growing. What I say, we've got a lot of plastic Māoris amongst us. We've got a lot of people who, I know there's Indigenous people out there who agree. If you sense that someone within your tribe is, not helpful at all, and they're not helping you, and they know that there's issues of homelessness, and yet they're bringing up excuses like, oh well, they shouldn't drink or do so much alcohol, and they use these kind of excuses to justify their ignorance, which is, you can tell straight away where they're coming from, what they really are. That this is a chance that they're probably been corrupted or swapped over if they're your own whānau. So this is what's been happening. And it's even gotten to the extent, what I've been finding is that with the swapping over of our people, right? So this is what the Germans did. They would keep one twin in enslavement their whole life, and the other twin would go out into the world where they were told to where they had been placed, and the other twin would remain under their control until such time as it was time to swap them over. So the twins have been created by our loved ones who had been murdered while imprisonment, and they were using the DNA from our loved ones, our families, to create the clones. Now, not everybody was cloned. They were sort of like kidnapping people from other countries, kids mainly, and brainwashing them and that, selling them off. Rich businessmen purchasing kids, as we've seen that can happen, and then sending them off to other countries. So the slave trade has been going on for quite some time. I don't believe it ever really stopped from back in the Treaty of Waitangi days, which I think may have been around the same time that Native America was suffering the same thing at the hands of the Crown, imprisoning and killing a lot of Native Americans and stuff like that, and taking the children away and bringing them up in church, religious, faith-based institutes and stuff, and reprogramming our kids and stuff. So yeah, same Indigenous story worldwide, but there's a tribal authority that needs to come back up out of recess in order to protect our people, our ones who are left. And it's about convincing those who have been corrupted, especially if they are in gangs, because they are the ones that we need to convince the most, the ones that are the push and the force behind the success of the corruption that's been going on, to convince them, yeah, they've just been trying to create a world of filth. You know, people who are ugly, too fat, too black, too ugly. They want to see models. They want to see, you know, pornographic material, pretty much. People in high heels, all this sort of shit. This is what we have to put up with in the South Island where I come from, you know. I mean, look at America now. You go on television and, like, I don't know, is it Sky? And all these American programs now are just like, yeah. Look at people. It's just the world is changing, and that's like the image that they've made. That's how they want to see the world, and I can see what, yeah, by listening to people that I come across, that growing society around us, I can hear their conversations, and I hear what they're saying about my people, and I know where it's leading to. I know what they had planned for our people, even, you know, our ugly gang members, and they've just been using a lot of them, the ones that they have been brainwashing to enforce the world that they want to see. So, you know, they're using a lot of our men to get what they want to see, and then they'll just throw them in the trash when they're done with them. So, you know, we've got to convince our people that you don't want to be going down that road. Don't betray your own people. They're very, very clever. They've been very clever at turning us all on each other, so it's time for us to, you know, make that stand, I think. Yeah, so I just wanted to get my word out to people anyway. Yeah, I won't go on too long because I'm actually quite tired now, but there's, yeah, heaps more that I could talk to you about, eh? So I'm going to post up a few videos on YouTube about this sort of thing, in the hopes that, you know, other people will find my videos and then, you know, comment, make your comments and stuff, and let's hear your stories as well. Something that the world needs to know about, the corruption stuff. I really feel sorry for America because they've been done over big time, and sort of Australia's becoming that way. So I don't know. I'm still alive in New Zealand. I haven't carked it yet. They haven't knocked me off yet. So I'm too far gone with everything I've been talking about. I won't stop. You know. I do it for my people, so, you know, I'm expecting that anything could happen. I could go into hospital from an operation and something could go wrong. Anything could happen. They've got coroners that write up false bullshit reports and all sorts. The secret society is just everywhere, man. You know, and the racism is growing. You know, I hate seeing it within our health system, our Māori people. You know, like I think it was last year, I was at Craigie Range in Martinborough, which is the Wairarapa in my country. A lot of fruit picking, great vineyard work, and one of the supervisor's kids couldn't even get a bed at the hospital. She should have been staying in hospital, and no beds. So it's pretty bad, you know, and this is what our Treaty of Waitangi was created for. It was meant to protect, have certain things put into place for our Māori people, health-wise, education, welfare, and housing-wise. So a lot of us haven't been getting that. I've been on the housing waiting list now for about 5 years. Well, I should have been on for 5 years. They took me off for a couple without my knowing. And sort of like being in my own hometown, living in vehicles and washing in public toilets and all that sort of stuff. So, but I refuse to give in to these bullies and these corrupt people who have been, who want me out. I'm not going to let them do it because I'm here for my people who need help. So, I just wanted to put that out there anyway. I'm going to post this up on YouTube now, and I talk more about the microchip technology and the effects of it and how it works another time when I'm not so tired. So yes, that's me for tonight, the video, guys. Yeah. Okay, nice talking to you. You take care, and I'll see you next time. For Marie.